I'm John Sadler of Sadler Sports and Recreation Insurance, and in the video today, we're going to cover the insurance and risk management topics that we discussed during the 2019 AYF AYC Leadership Conference. The prices we can negotiate are directly tied to our loss history, and unfortunately, our loss history has been compromised by two large claims over the past 2 years. The first was a $1 million plus settlement for a heat illness death claim. The second was a charter bus accident that recently made the national news when one child was killed and 45 people went to the hospital and several had severe injuries. We expect to release our final 2019 program and rates in early April, and despite the two recent large claims, I'm very pleased to announce that our rate increase will be less than 5% on the accident and general liability combined. As regards risk management, we provide outstanding free and simple risk management programs, which we're definitely going to review today. But we know that not enough of our members are taking this seriously, and compliance is not where it needs to be to protect our members and our loss record. As regards insurance underreporting fraud, we know that it's going on and it hurts everybody in the form of making the rates higher than what they should be to cover the losses. We'll also discuss this in more detail. AYF is going to add 2 new classes to the insurance this year to keep up with new trends. We're adding the traditional 7v7 with no intentional contact, and the rates are going to be the same as flag. And we're also adding what I will call Flag Touch Plus, or a similar name which is yet to be determined, which includes limited contact with hands only while blocking or rushing. The rates for Plus will be higher than flag, but lower than tackle. Our best-in-industry automation allows us to deliver a level of speed and ease of doing business to decrease your administrative time and frustration. Our instant online quote pay print eliminates the time-consuming process you're going to get with other agents of completing forms, playing communication tag, and waiting for the agent to issue your certificates of insurance for field owners. We allow our clients to self-issue new certificates of insurance 24/7. Our AYF webpage is designed to be like a PowerPoint presentation with a quick education section that will tell you all you need to know in a quick read. FAQs and our risk management resources are by far the best in the industry. Later in 2019, we're going to upgrade our automation so that you can handle your add deletes of teams online instead of by a paper application form. And for next year's renewal, we're going to pre-populate your enrollment with the prior year's information, including all of your certificate holders, so you won't need to rekey any of this information again. We offer the 5 insurance policies listed on this page with a number of limit and deductible choices. The quick education section of our website explains all of the risk that you face in the running of a youth tackle football and cheer organization, including the types of serious claims that we commonly see filed, why you need each of the 5 insurance policies to protect your organization and its players, administrators, and staff, and why our accident and general liability policies are superior to the competition in terms of the fewest amount of exclusions and our customized coverages. We're not going to cover all of this today, but we're confident that we offer the broadest coverage in the youth tackle football and cheer marketplace with high limits and the fewest amount of exclusions for the most competitive rates. And we deliver the online enrollment and continuing services with a very high level of efficiency. I think it says a lot that when we were surveyed, 98% of our AYF clients state that our level of service is awesome. I would like to take a minute to highlight 2 special coverages under our general liability policy which may not be covered under competitor policies. The first is sex abuse and molestation. It provides coverage up to $1 million resulting from an incident. This is important coverage to have because it's not just the alleged abuser who's going to be sued. All of the other officers and board members could be sued for failure to screen out a staff member with a criminal record, failure to implement policies and procedures to make an incident less likely to occur, or failure to report a suspicion to law enforcement. The second is non-owned and hired auto liability, which we provide at a limit of $1 million. A non-owned auto is one that your association does not own, but is owned by a director or officer or staff member. If they're in their personal vehicle running an errand for your association can be shotgunned into the lawsuit if there's an auto accident. The non-owned auto would cover this lawsuit against your association. A hired auto is one that your organization leases from a rental car company. We automatically provide the liability insurance, but you would still need to buy the physical damage coverage, which is called collision damage waiver, from the rental car company. We have a lot more detailed information on this coverage called non-owned and hired auto liability on our website. Also, one other important point to point out is that coverage is excluded for the use of 15-passenger vans. Youth tackle football and cheer entails significant risks, even more so than a number of other sports. We pay out a lot of claims under our program. Most are accident claims that pay medical bills on behalf of injured participants. You can see here that the average accident claim is $2,100. We also see a lot of lawsuits for when players or spectators are injured. The average general liability claim is $82,000. We've also included some of the largest general liability claims in AYF history, such as the heat illness death claim. And believe it or not, we have had 2 significant claims for falls off parade floats. And this prompted us to produce a risk management bulletin on how to minimize your risk if you have a parade float. We know that intentional underreporting fraud is a problem. We know this because a high percentage of the time, the number of teams shown on the association websites is significantly greater than the number of teams that are reported on the insurance. The insurance carrier must receive the correct amount of premium to cover the claims and to earn a small but reasonable profit. Otherwise, we will see massive rate increases or the insurance will not be available at all. The correct amount of premium assumes that every association and conference will accurately report the number of exposure units at risk. And what we mean by exposure units is the correct number of teams in each age group. And a team is defined as no more than 36 players. If you underreport, you're jeopardizing your coverage when you file a claim. You acknowledge on the application that you will report accurately, and if you don't, it is fraud on the application and the carrier may deny a claim. And furthermore, you must accurately report the number of teams and squads to AYF. That is a precondition of eligibility for the insurance program. We're often asked, what is the best way for a conference to apply for coverage when the conference has a number of associations under it that have multiple teams? The best way is that the conference should apply under its name and add all of the association names and report all teams for all associations under a single insurance application. The advantages of the conference taking control of the insurance enrollment is, number one, there is less of a chance of an association not purchasing adequate coverage. Number two, the conference is provided with general liability insurance to protect itself and its directors and officers at no additional charge. And number three, the conference has automatic coverage for when it hosts a regional tournament and the conference all-star teams as well. Now, a conference may allow its associations to separately purchase insurance, but this is not recommended, as the conference will need to buy its own separate general liability policy for the reasons already stated. Here's our AYF insurance page, which can be found at saddlersports.com/AYF. The risk management section of our website has all the information you need to protect your participants against serious injury and your administrators and staff against lawsuits. Throughout this presentation today, whenever I refer to an article, blog, or template that we provide, know that you can find it on our AYF risk management page under either the risk management or blog section. So the way you get to it is you scroll down to the bottom, and you'll notice here risk management content for AYF AYC, and notice how we have all of the risk management content divided out by header sections for the formal risk management process. As you scroll down, notice we have the separate sections for the vitally important child abuse protection and also brain injury concussion. We also have articles on a number of other serious risks, such as 15-passenger vans, guide to preventing heat stroke death in youth tackle football, parade float risk management. And at the very bottom, we have our 3 risk management templates, which pull all of our risk management content together. And we're going to be talking a lot about these 3 templates as we further discuss things today. And also at the bottom, we have a number of important blog articles of interest, such as why weight limits are not necessary in youth tackle football. And we have information on our injuries in AYF and AYC. Plus, heat stroke death claim settlement. We covered this topic in detail last year at the leadership conference. Also, we have an excellent article on how to prevent heat stroke death in youth tackle football on our website. So I'm just going to hit on some of the most important points here. First of all, understand that heat stroke death is 100% preventable according to the National Athletic Trainers Association. All administrators and staff should read the article on our website on how to prevent heat stroke death. This is a must-read article. Also, you need to understand that heat index is out as the standard for canceling, postponing, or modifying practice, and wet bulb globe temperature is the new standard of care that we're finding in the lawsuits. Wet bulb is just a better measure of stress on the body than heat index. The thing about wet bulb is it requires a meter that could cost anywhere from $87 to $500 to take it. But I found that there is a Weather FX app for 99 cents for either iPhone or Android, which does a mathematical approximation of wet bulb globe temperature. I played with this app on my phone last summer, and I found it to be very reliable. The next issue is that you must have a cold water immersion tub on location. Now, this does not have to be an expensive metal tub. It can be an inexpensive Rubbermaid container or a kiddie pool. And also, you must start cold water immersion before EMS arrives. As a matter of fact, whenever someone is experiencing signs of heat stroke, you should simultaneously call EMS and start cold water immersion. Group transportation in youth sports is risky business due to the severity potential of the accident, serious injuries and deaths, as well as how many people can be hurt at once. We've recommended in the past that you don't use 15-passenger vans because they have a high tip-over propensity. As a matter of fact, they're not safe enough to use in schools. There are a number of state laws that outlaw their use. Also, we've mentioned that the non-owned and hired auto liability under our insurance program does not cover the use of 15-passenger vans. There are certainly better options that are safer, such as a school bus, charter bus, or a caravan of private passenger vehicles or minivans. But if you're going to insist on using 15-passenger vans anyway, we've listed some ways that you can mitigate the risk by shifting the loads within the van, by having a qualified driver, and also note that if you use a late model 15-passenger van past 2011 that has electronic stabilization control, that certainly is safer than using an older van. The AYF AYC risk management template has a section on how to mitigate the risk of 15-passenger vans. Another alternative is to hire a charter bus. But as we've already discussed, the very serious accident we had to one of our conferences, there's some things you need to do before you hire the charter bus. First of all, you need to research the safety record online. There's a website you can go, and you want to make sure they have a satisfactory safety record before you hire them. There's also another link online where you can go to collect certificates of insurance, and they must carry a $5 million auto liability policy if they're crossing state lines and carrying, I believe, more than 16 passengers. And finally, you absolutely must make your children wear safety belts. The recent case that we've experienced, that we've seen lawsuits arising out of the adult staff members not making the children wear safety belts. We talked about the new Safe Sport Act at last year's workshop, but at the time things were still unclear and there were a lot of gray areas. Things have clarified since that time, and we now provide resources to our clients to be in compliance with this act. It was signed into law in February 2018, and it applies directly to any youth sports team, association, or conference that competes across state lines. It applies indirectly to every youth sports team, association, conference that does not compete across state lines, because it sets a precedent for the standard of care owed in a negligence lawsuit. Here are the key elements of the Safe Sport Act. It requires mandatory reporting to law enforcement by any participating adult staff member of a suspicion of abuse within 24 hours. This is in direct response to what we saw happen in Sandusky and in USA Gymnastics, when the organizations tried to sweep the incidents under the rug and handle things internally, trying to keep it a secret. That's a big no-no. And if you are an adult staff member, and if you have a suspicion, and if you fail to report, there are criminal charges that can be filed against you, and in addition, there's civil liabilities. It also requires mandatory training of all adults who oversee youth. And believe it or not, it requires mandatory minor training to be offered subject to parental consent. And we provide documents to provide this minor training. We have one for ages 4 through 12 and another one for ages 13 through 17. And all you have to do is provide these documents to the parents with a strong recommendation that they can review these materials with their children, or they can choose not to review it, and they can do so in however they think is an age-appropriate fashion, and then you've satisfied your duty for minor training. There are also mandatory prevention policies, such as limiting one-on-one interaction unless another adult is present. The Safe Sport Act covers new ground on the traditional child abuse molestation programs. It adds the new topics of bullying, hazing, your travel arrangements to protect your youth in the rooms. It addresses locker room situations and also prohibited electronic communications. What they're finding out is that a lot of the sexual grooming process that used to happen in person is now happening by text or social media. Now, of course, Sadler & Company provides free risk management materials to help you easily comply with the Safe Sport Act. Our program is called the Safe Sport Child Abuse and Other Misconduct Risk Management Plan. This screenshot is a summary of the blog that we've posted on a website entitled AYC Releases Survey on Injury Trends 2005 through 2018. So we have 220 cheer injuries in our database where accident claims were filed versus 4,500 plus for football. What this tells us is that cheer injuries are very low frequency as compared to football, even when you take into account there are more football players and cheerleaders under the program. However, we know that cheer has the severity risk of serious brain injury and paralysis. We know this from media accounts and from other studies that are out there, but fortunately, we've never seen one of these severity risks from cheerleading under our insurance program. Now, in the blog we have detailed information about how these chair injuries are occurring by the 10 categories that we have listed below on this page. The studies on chair injuries consistently draw a correlation between the competency of the supervisor and the frequency of the chair injuries. That's why it's so important for the chair coach to be formally trained and to have adequate experience. And as we all know, a great source of formal training is coaching the AYC way. It's also of vital importance that the rules are followed by the sanctioning body, such as AYC or YCATA. Also, the sample AYF AYC risk management plan, which we're going to talk about in detail some more, is just as critical for cheer as it is for football to follow the principles in that risk management plan. The 3 risk management templates that we have at the bottom of the risk management section, they pull together all of our risk management content and serve as your official policies as well as your educational training programs. Now, all 3 of these programs have had significant updates within the past 30 days. So if you're using a prior version, you're going to need to update to the latest version. Now, all 3 of these programs have Word doc templates at the bottom. Let's go check out the AYF AYC program. If you scroll to the bottom, you notice that there is a link for downloadable Word doc. And Word doc makes it very easy for you to customize just by adding your name to it or your association name, and to make a few choices sometimes when you're given options. And it takes very little time to customize this program. You can deliver the training simply by sending these docs via email to your administrators and staff, and to get their electronic signature that they have reviewed and will comply. These programs are all free, and they take very, very little administrative time for you to implement. Now, when you joined AYF as a member and you signed the Terms of Service Agreement, you agreed that you would implement all of these risk management programs. Your insurance carrier is under the assumption that you're doing this. The Safe Sport Act requires that you have a written child abuse plan, and many state laws have statutes requiring a written concussion brain injury plan. So there's really no reason for any team, association, or conference not to adopt, implement, and distribute all 3 of these templates to comply with your obligations under the law. There's another very important issue that we need to discuss. With all of these risk management documents, how do you save them and get them into evidence when you get sued? So we're talking about waiver release forms, emergency information consent, image release, brain injury, child abuse training, and your AYF AYC risk management awareness training. A lot of forms, and you may need to retain them for 16 years. The reason is a child who's age 4 could wait until the age of 20 to file a lawsuit in many states. So it's a span of 16 years. It's a lot of documents that you need to retain for a long time. And how are you going to do this when your administrators typically turn over every several years? This is a big problem. The solution to this problem, in my opinion, can be found in an article that we created on our webpage entitled How to Easily Organize Sports Risk Management Docs in the Cloud. My thought is that sports organizations can use free or low-cost cloud management vendors such as Evernote or OneNote. These vendors are stable, and they're not going to go out of business anytime soon like so many of the smaller vendors. It's very easy to upload and retrieve docs and to organize them. You may want to consider setting up a folder for each registration period and then using subfolders for each type of doc that you want to store, such as your waiver release agreements, for example. It's very easy to share subfolders with those who need access, but to restrict access to subfolders that have sensitive information. And when the administrator is replaced every several years, it should be very easy to pass along the login information to the new administrator. Thank you so much for your time today, and please check out our AYF webpage or give us a call if you have any questions. We would love to help. Thank you.